Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. So today I am absolutely pumped to dive in with you guys because we are putting together your ultimate survival guide. We're breaking down chapter 32, and it's all about how to defend ourselves against a seriously sneaky, totally invisible enemy. I mean, think about it for a second. How do you spot a trap you can't even see, right? How are we supposed to defend against an invisible master trickster's playbook? It sounds kind of impossible. But, well, chapter 32 actually outlines his exact strategies. And today, we're going to expose every single one of them so you can stay one step ahead and never get caught. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our survival checklist for today. First up, the master trickster. Then, trap 1, distractions. Trap 2, false teachings. And trap 3, hiding truth. After that, we'll cover your defense tools, and finally, winning the battle. All right, starting right off with section 1, the master trickster. So the chapter introduces our main villain, but actually I need you to scratch the idea of some mindless movie monster. The text describes him as a skillful general, someone who carefully studies us and lays out his plans way ahead of time. Let's look at this comparison. The myth? A scary beast with horns and claws. But the chapter gives us a completely different picture, a crafty, wicked-faced fallen angel. Picture a sinister being dressed in an ancient priest's tunic. Because he can look like a normal or even a holy being, his disguises are incredibly sneaky. He literally shows up invisibly while people are worshiping. And that brings us to a huge word used in this chapter, the snare. A snare is simply a hidden trap, designed to catch you totally by surprise. Now here's the wild part. The text tells us this fallen angel works twice as hard to use these hidden snares, specifically when we are trying our absolute best to do what's right. If you don't care about doing good, well, he kind of just leaves you alone. But the very second you start caring about eternal things, boom, that's exactly when he starts laying these traps. Moving on to section 2, trap 1, distractions. This is where we see the enemy using totally normal, everyday things to just pull our minds right off of God. Imagine this, and I know it's super relatable. You've just sat down and decided it's time to pray or read your Bible. And suddenly, out of nowhere, you absolutely have to play that one specific video game right this second. Or you suddenly remember a toy you haven't thought about in weeks. Or, get this, you actually feel the urge to do a chore. The chapter points out this is no accident. The trickster invents every possible device to capture your attention. He tempts us to focus on our hobbies right exactly when we need to focus on eternal things. It's all just to numb our minds. Which leads us to section 3.
Trap 2, false teachings.
So when distractions don't work, the great deceiver flips his tactic. The source explains that he loves to mix just a tiny little bit of truth with really dangerous, soul-ruining lies to create maximum confusion. And this brilliantly illustrates his strategy as we look at 3 specific false teachings the chapter warns us about. First, claiming that Jesus didn't exist before coming to earth, which undermines his divine power. Second, spreading this fast-growing idea that Satan isn't even a real being, but just a metaphor for our own bad thoughts. And third, teaching that prayer doesn't work because of quote-unquote fixed scientific laws. If he makes you believe God can't answer prayers, or the enemy isn't real, well, you're left totally unprotected. Now for section 4, trap 3, hiding truth and pushing doubt. Here, the trickster tries to get people to distrust and doubt the Bible entirely, usually because it points out stuff they're doing wrong. Just look at how calculated this step-by-step plan is. Step 1, make you feel way too smart or proud to even need the Bible. Step 2, push you to criticize it, maybe just to look cool or edgy around your friends. The source actually notes a lot of people criticize the Bible just to look smarter than everyone else. And then step 3, keep you trapped in unbelief. Because once you openly express that doubt, human pride makes you feel like you just have to stick to it. It's literally a snare of human pride, and the trickster uses it to completely close the gates of paradise on people. All right, section 5, your ultimate defense tools. Okay, time to go on the offensive. We know the traps, so let's grab our tactical defense gear. We are absolutely not helpless here. Let's move to and see how this builds your ultimate defense shield. The source lays out 3 powerful, actionable steps. Tool 1. Pray for wisdom every single day. The text literally says no man is safe for a day or an hour without prayer. Tool 2. Study the Bible with a humble, teachable heart. Because if we just read it to argue, we fall right into the trap. But if we read it to genuinely learn, it exposes all the enemy's tricks. And tool 3. Obey God's commandments. Sticking to what God asks of us is what keeps our fortress secure. And check out this incredible promise quoted right there in the chapter from Matthew 7:7. Seek, and ye shall find. The source guarantees that it is impossible,
like actually impossible, for the deceiver to hold anyone under his power if they honestly desire to know the truth. If you truly want to know what's right, and you ask God, He is always going to guide you. You are never, ever left alone in the dark.
And finally, Section 6, winning the battle. If we stick to this survival guide, final victory isn't just a possibility, it's an absolute guarantee. So the crucial point is this unbelievable fact right here. The chapter tells us that Satan knows the absolute weakest person who relies on Christ is more than a match for all the hosts of darkness. Just let that sink in for a second. He is terrified of your humble reliance on God. That's exactly why he has to rely on hitting traps and ambushes instead of fighting you out in the open. When you pray and rely on God, you are instantly stronger than the greatest trickster. Let's read this really comforting promise from 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 12, which the text highlights for us. The eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. So no matter what sneaky traps are out there waiting, your ultimate commander in heaven is always watching over you, and he hears every single prayer you send up.
Which leaves us with this really important final question. How will you use your defense tools today? Are you going to be on the lookout for those sneaky distractions right before you sit down to pray? Will you grab your Bible and study it with a humble, teachable heart? Look, the enemy's traps might be invisible, but your tools are powerful, proven, and totally ready to go. I challenge you to spot those traps and start using your new gear immediately. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer today. Keep your eyes open, stay sharp, and I'll catch you next time.